Hello, everybody. I'm Krasi. I'm sidereal astrologer, and this will be my monthly forecast for you for June. Um, I will do this using the sidereal zodiac like it was used in the ancient times, in ancient Babylon, which means that I will take into consideration the stars and the constellations. I will base my forecast as I did last month. If you watch this on the channel of Astrowada, then I followed the path of the moon. Why is this very important? Because the moon is very fast, and on her path she's meeting stars, planets, constellations. They are it is like she's meeting gods and goddesses, and all this is creating important life events for us, for every one of us, and for the world. So I'm basing my forecast for the month of June on the path of the moon. So, what is actually happening? Since we will be looking at the lunar month, we have to say that this lunar month already started with the first lunar crescent, which we saw on the 16th of May. Just to tell you that I'm using the longitudes of Washington, United States, in order to be useful exactly for the friends of the channel of Astrowada. So, uh, we saw the first lunar crescent in Taurus, astronomically, on the real sky. And this already gave the complete overview, the complete image of the month. This first lunar crescent on the 16th of May in Taurus. In addition to this, before I give you the overview of the month and start analyzing their day per day, what you can expect from every day, what can the moon on her path bring to every one of us in particular, I have to say that this lunar month, called in antiquity Iru, is ruled by Ea. And Ea is divinity which is a ruler of the infinite sweet water ocean. He is magi. He is related to intuition, to wisdom. Why is this important to know? It is that this is giving sort of idea what the energies of the month will be. And since the month is starting on the 16th of May, this will be valid for around about the 16th of June. And then I will continue until the end of June in order to know that I made complete overview of the month. So since Ea is ruling this particular part of the month, and he is wise, magi, related to intuition, he is probably linked to the contemporary Neptunus. So we can say that this particular spiritual energies are influencing powerfully the month. So this is just an overview. What we know, what happened actually this month? We know that Mars is in his place, is in his hidden place, or is in his place of exaltation, where he is very powerful. We know that there he joined the lunar node Ketu, and we know, probably most of you have already noticed that there Mars is not, is very very powerful, but this does not mean that he is very very soft and benefic. Mars influenced the financial markets. He can be on his way, which will take around plus minus 200 days, I think 187, 8 days. He won't be beneficial for the world finances. He might be influencing um, also some aggression. And we're already following this with his powerful entrance in Capricorn, as again sidereally, astronomically. He is bringing these negative effects, and especially on the 27th of June, when he's turning retrograde, we might experience even more from his negative effects. 3 days before the 27th, he will be stationary, and 3 days after, which means until the 30th of June, Mars won't be very positive, especially for the finances. So this month of June is not really beneficial for starting and doing any financial deals, financial activities, investing money, because the world finances might be suffering. Also, if you have sidereal Capricorn rising or Sun in Capricorn, or according to the tropical zodiac, if you have Aquarius rising or Sun in Aquarius, you really need to be a bit cautious not to take any risks. So this is just important to tell you. On the other hand, we know that Venus is not anymore in her place where she is the most beneficial for us until she was in Taurus, and she entered Gemini, where she will be until 8th of June. This is not a really good place for Venus. She's their peregrine, she's weak, and she's afflicted by Saturn. So this may influence in general our uh, love life, our friendships, also money wise, because you know that Venus is related to the finances, to money. So this might have a negative impact. On 8th of June until 5th of July, Venus will be leaving Gemini, entering Cancer. There she will be afflicted again, but in a different way. She will be afflicted by Mars, and again this might not have positive effect, especially in particular on our love life, on our friendships. This might create conflict situations, especially in the love life and in relationships. Again, on the 8th of June exactly, Mars is making exact conjunction to a degree with Ketu. This is malefic. This may have particular impact on aggression, on terrorism, on world finances. They might really suffer. So this is just a very brief overview before I start talking day per day. Before this, to tell you that on the 15th of June, the moon is in a perigee, which is meaning that she is very close to Earth, which means that we will feel her presence. We might feel this emotionally, but we talk about this in detail. Now, how is the solar month starting? On the 1st of June, what we have? Now, on the 1st of June, the moon is making conjunction with Saturn and Pluto, and this is and then she's making even more active this opposition between Saturn and Venus. This would say that this particular day might be really very emotional, not in a very positive way in terms of love, friendships. Also, this day might not be very beneficial in terms of finances, financial activities, investments, not good for new beginnings. Absolutely not advisable on this day to undertake surgical interventions. If you are gardening on this day, don't plant leafy vegetables like tomatoes, cucumbers. You may plant uh, root vegetables like potatoes. This is because the moon is already warning. The next day, the 2nd of June, the moon will conjoin Mars and Ketu. Once again, not advisable for traveling, for taking any risks. On this day, um, it's good to do our routine jobs, not do any surgical interventions. And once again, not appropriate for planting leafy vegetables if you are gardening. The same is valid until the 3rd of June, and then on the 4th of June, the moon is entering Aquarius, and there she will be very beneficial for spiritual work. You might have time to do meditation to enhance your intuition, because the moon will pass through the very important degrees of the star, the royal star Fomalhaut. This is the star of the priest, the star which will bring um, spiritual awareness, um, and any spiritual practices will really give results. The same is valid for the 5th of June. These 2 days are appropriate for surgical interventions, 4th and the 5th of June. Um, Not really advisable for taking new initiatives. On the 6th of June, the moon is still in Aquarius, but passing through very um, special degrees in Aquarius, which bring which are very powerful in terms of spirituality, meditation. They might give um, really powerful results if you practice any spiritual techniques, because these are the sacred degrees of the Aquarius. On this particular day, you may do, of course, um, educational work like learning. And again, meditation. The day is still appropriate for surgical interventions and not appropriate for new beginnings, because the month in general is really not very appropriate. If you would do election for starting new business, this is not the most appropriate month, really. On the 7th of June, 7th, 8th of June, the moon will be in Pisces. We know how spiritual the Pisces are. We know astronomically how important they are for our era, because the spring equinox is in Pisces. So these degrees are wonderful in terms of spirituality. Not yet advisable for surgical interventions, not advisable for new beginnings, also for taking risks, because the moon will be afflicted by Saturn and Pluto until she's in Pisces. While you may do gardening work, again, not leafy vegetables, and no surgical interventions. What is important for this particular day? First is that on the 8th of June, Mars is making exact conjunction with Ketu, so this day could be quite risky in terms of finances as well. We might see some um, particular financial uh, bad news in the media for the world market. But of course, this can affect all of us. Then on this same day, Mercury is having last day of invisibility. So the next day he will become visible as an evening star. So on the next day, on June 9th, we will see Mercury visible in Taurus. So if you look at the sky in the evening after the sun sets, shortly after the sun sets, you have a very great good chance to see Mercury rising on around the 9th of June, and this is for the longitudes of America, Washington. 9th, 10th of June, we said about the 9th, 10th of June, um, the moon is in Aries. When she's there, uh, well, this can have, of course, impact on our ambitions, and this will be very nice. But the moon is afflicted. We might have the desire to start something new, but the moon is afflicted by Mars, so this won't be appropriate. Also, new surgical interactions, new initiatives are also not appropriate on that day. I just saw that a second ago I made a mistake. Actually, Mercury will be rising not on the 8th of June, excuse me, but he will be rising in the evening, so you can see Mercury around 16th of June on the evening sky. On the 11th of June, the moon is in Taurus passing the Pleiades. So, what we know about the Pleiades, they do not really have positive effect on us. They are very complicated nebula, so to say. So, on this day, it's most appropriate to pray, to study, to meditate, to do spiritual activities, to try to enhance our intuition because the Pleiades are very magical, they are very intuitive. So it is not the day to travel. This day is not good for new initiatives, not good for surgical interventions. Venus, as I said in the beginning, will already be in Taurus, where she is receiving the opposition from Mars. Thus, this means she will be afflicted, which would say that in our personal relationships, we need to be very patient to our loved ones, very forgiving until Venus is becoming again free from the opposition of Mars, free from this affliction, which is happening after the 5th of July. So we need to be a little bit patient with the people we love, also with our friends. 12th of June, the moon is making conjunction with Aldebaran, very powerful royal star of money, good luck. This might bring some benefits in our when we make money in our everyday business, but still, because in general the sky is not beneficial in terms of finances, business, new beginnings, I still do not recommend to start new businesses or any new beginnings on this particular day. Also, taking into consideration that Venus, which is ruling Taurus, is not really very well placed. On this day, we may travel, we may have we may not have surgical intervention because this is the last day before the moon becomes invisible in the rays of the moon. 13th, 14th June, the moon will be in the rays of the sun. These days are not benefic for anything. No surgical interventions. No, I really personally avoid even traveling when the moon is invisible. These days are great for spiritual work. They're great for um, meditation. In antiquity, people would spend time contemplating in the temple. They would not do any risky business. They would not start any new initiatives, any new things. And then we have already the next lunar month, which is starting with the visibility of the first lunar crescent. So we had the invisible moon, and then on the 14th of June, we do have the first lunar crescent, and we know that on the 15th of June, we have the lunar perigee, which means that the moon will be visible in Gemini, and the day after she will be very powerful. She will influence us very powerfully, being very close to us. Starting the lunar month with the moon in Gemini, of course, this is wonderful for mental work. This is wonderful for any media activities. But of course, this is for the 14th of June. On the 15th of June, as I said in the beginning, I made a mistake, but we have already Mercury, who will be visible in Gemini as well. Wonderful, because this is the place he's ruling. This is happening on the 15th of June. This would have been wonderful indeed if Mercury was not afflicted by Saturn and Pluto. So we might have some good moment for learning, for oratory work, for writing, for media work, for any uh, creative work, of course, learning, studying. We might produce good results, but we might have need to invest efforts and time because Saturn is afflicting Mercury. So once again, Mercury will not give the desired effects that he would otherwise give when rising in Gemini and being visible as an evening star. So also on the 15th, the moon is making conjunction with Venus. Very lovely for our emotions, for our love, feelings, friendships, but afflicted by Mars. So once again, this is the second lunar day, but this lunar day is not good for new beginnings, for taking risks. Still, we need to be patient with our um, loved ones, with our friends, forgiving. And this day again, even though the moon is waxing, even though this is the second lunar day, quite powerful, I wouldn't advise any new beginnings on this particular day. Also, because Venus and the moon on the next day, especially the moon, will be approaching the nebula of Cancer. This nebula is quite complicated, so this will say that any trips, any risks, any conflicts, any risky situations, any surgeries are not advisable on this day. We may, of course, do uh, any spiritual work because the Cancer, of course, is very intuitive, very spiritual. Um, so this was until the 16th of June. On the 17th of June, the moon will make conjunction with Regulus, and Regulus is a wonderful, um, very nice leadership star because this is a royal star which is in the heart of Leo, and this is also the fourth lunar day. What is important for the fourth lunar day to know is that this was such powerful lunar day in antiquity and also now, of course, that this was the day when in Babylon they used to crown the king. So this day looks quite good to me for new initiatives, new beginnings. No surgical interventions because the day is too powerful, too a bit too in order to make undertake such steps. Um, Positive for the business, positive to undertake indeed new initiative initiatives, and will be also good for the daily routine work. And the moon is not afflicted. The same will be valid for the fifth lunar day, the 18th of June, because then the moon is still in Leo and will make conjunction with powerful astrological stars. So, for those of us who do astrology or esoteric occult activities, these days could be quite powerful. The day won't be risky for uh, traveling, uh, new initiatives again, no surgical interventions. Planting leafy vegetables, tomato, cucumbers is quite positive. 19th of June is the day when the moon is void of course. It means she has no course. It's like she's not bringing anything. She's not useful for new activities. She might even not be useful in our daily life. We might feel a little bit stuck. We might feel that we cannot do our routine business. So on this day, no risks, no surgical interventions, they might bring no result, no, just to do as less as possible in our routine daily life. Um, Traveling is possible, planting is possible, but new initiative, risky business, better not. 20th, 21st of June. These 2 days are interesting, not very positive, but a bit complex. First, because the moon is already in Virgo. There, this is the seventh lunar day, quite special lunar day, which in antiquity was also cons- considered critical. No new beginnings. People would contemplate uh, in the temple, do spiritual activities. This day is also not very positive because the moon is activating square with Mercury and also with Saturn and Pluto. So this day might be negative in terms of uh, any business activities, mental activities, creativity. We might feel a bit stuck. On the 21st, the moon will be conjoining, will be approaching Spica. Spica, this is a star good for spiritual work, also for the business, also for creativity, since this star has the nature of Mercury and Venus, but still, because there is a square activated, I would advise really only intellectual work, creative work, oratory work, studies, spirituality, but no risks because Saturn is also extremely powerful. He's in a special heliacal phase called acronical rise when he's extremely powerful. So I would say that this means that he is bringing also powerful limitations, restrictions to us. He might not help us in the activities we do. Uh, Therefore, 20th, 21st, let's do really the routine issues, the routine business quietly. June 22, 23, the moon is with Jupiter. He is retrograde, but Jupiter is always benefic. This is beautiful because this can give some really desires to do any work related um, to to art, beauty, creativity, because this is Libra. And conjoining with Jupiter can make us feel lofty, with lofty ideals, and this is beautiful. Venus is making a square, but this square from Venus I don't consider bad. So I would say this is not a bad day for new initiatives, new beginnings, no surgical interventions, good for possible for traveling, good for if you will be planting leafy vegetables. This is on the 22nd, 23rd. And this day will be particularly good for people doing artistic business, people engaged in the beauty, in creating beauty, and people which want to be visible. Also because Mercury is making an aspect with the moon and Jupiter. 24, 25 of June, the moon is entering Scorpio. This day is quite interesting in terms of intuition, in terms of for people which are engaged in spiritual healing, homeopathy, people which have deep understanding of esoterics, occultism. The moon will be making on the 25th aspect conjunction with Antares. This is a royal star, of a very powerful royal star of leadership. So we might have such desires, um, but still, this day is not particularly good for new business because still, even though the moon is making conjunction with such a powerful star, she is in a fall there. So we may take this into consideration, and it's important also to know that the day is not good for surgical interventions. 24, 25 of June. 26th of June, the moon has no course. Better to do nothing. Do our routine business, but do not expect any powerful results. No surgical interventions. This is a day where we really need to do as less as possible. On the 27th, 28th, the moon is again conjoining Saturn, conjoining Pluto, and this is not beneficial. Could be that it is even a bit dangerous because Saturn is in a heliacal phase, which is not very positive. He is extremely powerful. Pluto is also retrograde, and the Moon on the 27th and 28th will be seeing them. So on this day, no surgical interventions, no new beginnings. Here the moon is also uh, approaching opposition with the sun, so we will be seeing full moon. And full moon happening so powerfully and negatively with Saturn and Pluto would say that on the 27th and 28th we really better not take any risky business, new initiatives, surgeries. It is really good for spiritual work, creative work, um, prayers. In antiquity, people would really spend time in the temple during this particular aspect. 29, 30 June, similar situation. The moon is conjoining Mars, and Mars is conjoined with Ketu. This could trigger, enhance financial issues, losses. So this day is really, it's a complex day. It's a complex situation on the sky when the moon is receiving opposition, is making opposition to Venus. Mercury is also there already in Cancer. So this will be also very complicated in terms of emotions. We might feel with some powerful extreme emotions. Therefore, no new beginnings, no undertaking risks. And this is how this month is finishing on the 30th of June. And here, usually, as I did last time, I am proposing some appropriate days and times for those of you who like to create own planetary or starry talismans. Unfortunately, unfortunately, during these months, I couldn't find any beneficial, powerful day in order to make powerful talisman because Venus is not positioned fine for creating talisman. Mercury was quite powerful, of course, and visible. His heliacal rise was in Gemini, but he was afflicted. Once again, not appropriate for Mercury talisman. So there are also many other factors which I took into consideration, and unfortunately, this month we will not be able to make good talismans. But if you're interested to learn how to make planetary or stellar talismans, you can find information um, on the Astroada website when I'm giving this webinar on talismans and remedies for our horoscopes. So this was my monthly forecast for the month of June, following the moon, the path of the moon, and every important aspect like planets and stars which she was meeting on her path during this month. See you next month when we will be talking about the month of July. Thank you. I'm Krasi, and you can see more about me on the website of Astroada. And there also you can book consultation with me. Thank you very much.